felicidades, muchas felicidades.
All right, that was how it played out yesterday. At the official announcement of these countries as the host of the 2030 FIFA Men's World Cup and, of course, 2034 FIFA Men's World Cup. The 2030 edition will be happening, in Europe and, of course, in Morocco as well. And, of course, a part of it, to celebrate the centenary of FIFA 100 years of the World Cup, rather, will still be played across the South America, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina. But then 2034 will be hosted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it's been quite a journey. To give us more insight into that, we are privileged to have WSTV sport journalist Joseph, the award-winning Joseph Atewe. Let me put that there. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning,
you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia. We'll come back to 2030, but let's talk about 2034 firstly. Did you see that coming? Actually, that the FIFA Men's World Cup will be going to the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. At some point, there were some objections, but later, towards yesterday, it looked like it was a lone bid and everything was settled. But then, the people with the bid, the FA, everybody was all over the moon, excited that the World Cup is coming to Saudi Arabia. How instructive would that be at this time? And I have reason why I'm asking you that the World Cup will be going to Saudi Arabia.
Well, for them, it is good news, and for the population at large, I feel like there is something fishy. Remember in 2010 when South Africa hosted the World Cup, it took us years later before some persons were investigated. 2014, 2018. As a matter of fact, we hear that the former president of FIFA is also under investigation. So I would give you an insight of corruption that has rocked, that has rocked that. But as a matter of fact, is to appear in court, but we're here because of his health issues. He has representatives going to court. So what am I trying to say? I'm telling you that there is corruption rocking this body, and it needs to be really checked. You can't tell me that the competition that will be holding in 2034, just one country, Saudi Arabia, that's not possible. Now, in as much as this is good for them, it is not good for the footballing world because, sports experts have said, the human rights activists have come out. Over the years, at least in the last decade, more than 4,000 persons have died that have no account for. This year alone, according to the BBC, Saudi has executed publicly more than 300 people. And these are laws that do not align with football. For example, we come back to the continent, you look at the Francophone countries from Cameroon to Ivory Coast hosting the Nations Cup. You see, how did football even start? Football is one sport for you to have fun, enjoy yourself. They say it's some drunkards, that organized something one day and they started investing in it. Today we have football.
It's easy to play. Anything rolling can be used.
What Saudi is doing, according to the human rights activists, with proof, is to die down the human rights record they have. Don't forget that since 2021, more than £5 billion has been spent in bringing sports to Saudi Arabia, making the country or that region look good. But there are hidden ashes that needs to be brought out, and that is what human rights activists are saying. Now, you recall that I talked about 2034. How possible is it? There are so many countries. Now, 11 stadiums will host that competition across different cities. And I can tell you for free, none has been built. Not a single stadium has been built. In fact, there's a city that will host that stadium, that will host the final. It's going to be called the Mohammed bin Hussein Stadium, which will now be the biggest in the world, 93,500 capacity. And it will be played on a cliff top. So what it means is that you cannot just drive inside the stadium. There's a fast lift that takes you there. We know all these things is good for football. We've seen what they're doing with Formula 1.
Shouldn't we be happy for the advent of technology?
There is more to it. Now, they said, according to them, when it was announced that it's a competition open to all, that's a lie.
That's what they said.
That's a lie. I made mention of Cameroon, I made mention of Ivory Coast. Now, these two countries, at least 60-65% of them are Muslims. I'm not trying to criticize the religion, but I'm saying don't take away the essence of sports. It's interesting to know that because we cover those competitions, at least 4 kilometers away from the stadium, they're not burn you. If you're with anything alcohol and they warn you, they will throw you inside van. You cannot drink. And this it caused some controversy there. People complained. I mean, you're taking away the shine. Even though you don't want this to happen, at least Egypt is an Islamic nation. What they did is that you cannot bring in bottles. You probably have these disposable cups sealed for you to bring in your alcohol if it's a must for you to drink. And do not forget, I said, the essence of football. It is good that they will bring in new dimensions to the World Cup. Fair play. Enjoy yourself, but they're taking away those things. For example, you know in Saudi Arabia that women don't go watch football. They dare not. In Saudi Arabia, you cannot see the women down in jerseys. They're all on full regalia. It's their religion. I don't have a problem with that. But don't bring it to sport. It's like in athletics. Qatar hosted the last, what they call it now. I'm trying to remember the name. Athletics. They hosted one competition. And, you know, it was part of their own rules submitted to the organizers that some of the athletes will be part of it. They said, no problem. They came on the track with hijabs. Who does that? So you are taking away the beauty of this sport. And that is what Saudi is doing. First, trying to cover up their track record. Their horrible track record of human rights, and secondly, you know, trying to paint to the world that they are free, they're a country that accommodates
free
people.
Nation. It's
not true, and it's just a matter of time. 2034 might look far; it's around the corner. I bet you next 10 years after
10 years away,
they will bid again and continue like that. Don't forget the LIV Gulf issue that happened. Many of these guys, like John Ram, they all separated. Who caused it? Saudi. You talk about the Grand Prix, you know, happening there because they do not want their women, you know, to be involved in it. They had to put it in the night. If you are doing all those, it's not a must. There are some things that don't suit you, that don't suit me.
But we blame, you know, I wanted to point out to two things. Number one, the human rights concerns. Since yesterday, many persons have been talking about it, but it's like many pundits saw it coming that this was going to go to Saudi because the bid has just been there and not so many objections to say, oh, we are coming in, we are coming in. So, number one, the human rights concerns, Saudi Arabia, in their bid, have come out to say, we will host this, we will align, you know, with what the sport dictates that we do. And of course, they brought a proposal to FIFA. Isn't it the work of FIFA to ascertain, to confirm this, you are going to allow, you are going to do this before they can allow them to just go ahead? There are proposals, isn't it?
Unlike political class where, you know, after they leave office, you know, there's a body. For example, in Nigeria, you leave office, there's an EFCC that quickly goes after you. In football, sometimes it doesn't work that way. So it takes a deeper investigation for them to bring you out. That is why if you check the last 4 FIFA presidents, many of them have been investigated. What played out here, take it or not, is money. Now, some of the...
From João Avalanche to Sepp Blatter, and now Infantino.
It is more, don't worry, the next 10 years we will hear that somebody is sick, he cannot come to court, somebody is sick. These things will happen. We've seen it happen. 2010, we are still battling why South Africa hosted that World Cup ahead of Argentina. 2014, we are still on the same case. So, corruption has been the case. So, I might not be wrong if I say something is fishy. Now, let me explain to you. One country, Saudi Arabia, 2034, to host the World Cup. What are the things FIFA look at before they give you the hosting rights? First, security. Secondly, the stadiums you have. And thirdly, the human rights comes to play. How free are the people to sport? Look at all these things. Where does Saudi fall into? I just told you that 11 cities will be hosting the World Cup in 2034, and none has been built. Not a single stadium. Not a single block has been
maybe
made.
They've shown capacity to say we are ready. Capacity. They have the money. They have the technology.
It's the biggest global sporting event in the world. There are other countries, and you cannot tell me that no country came close to Saudi Arabia. Tell me the Germans can host it, the Australians can host it. Did you see the Australia-New Zealand under-17 World Cup? Did you see the stadiums outside the documentary? Have you seen it? You think these guys can't? And if you read through the story, they said a month before this meeting they had yesterday, many of the other countries they had pulled out. Why? So in my own submission here,
maybe there were concessions.
Okay, so what
corruption is the bane of FIFA, and that's what is playing out. I'm not joking. Right. 5 billion since 2021 invested in sports. Less than $1 billion in income. Does it make any sense?
That was what I wanted to say before Uzoms will come in here to say maybe Saudi Arabia were proactive. Like 20 years ago, nobody wants to go to the Middle East or Saudi Arabia to go and play sport. But now they're attracting the biggest stars, and maybe it's part of the strategy to show the world that we are ready. In as much we have these stadiums, at least, and Nassau, Al Ittihad, some of their guys, Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, the guy from Senegal is there. Many of them attracting them to show to the world that this is what we can do. And in as much you have some of these biggest stars there leaving Europe, even not those at the twilight of their career, even young prospects, they are coming to Saudi Arabia. Doesn't that show that yes, they are ready to host the world? Because they've been at it for like 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
We're looking at 2034 here. You have the next World Cup that will be hosted by the US, Canada, Mexico, 2026.
Yeah.
4 years later, we are going to Morocco, Spain, and the other country that you have 4 years. So if you do your maths, you probably have 10 years.
Yes.
I mean, to build a proper stadium with what they're proposing. So one of the things they're proposing here is that at least 8 out of those cities will be a car-free city. So they're going to have cars without drivers. I don't know if they call them Teslas.
Yeah.
Because many of the stadiums are not on the ground. They're not on the floor. They're going to play like the cliff top I talked about. It's a different dimension. That's the beauty. That's the only thing I can pick out from that. Seeing the World Cup in a different stadium, having a different field, being on top of a roof, watching football, it is good. But then we are saying that there is something wrong in Saudi Arabia which does not promote good sports, which does not support sports. The human rights record I talked about. And again, people want to have fun, which is a concern. In Qatar, they had issues. Many of the guys that were arrested were forced to be released because many of those guys were from countries that are powerful. Imagine, thank God Nigeria did not even go. Imagine a Joseph Atewe because I will drink the alcohol. I'm being, they were very strict, and these things are not aligned with football. If you go to the Oshobo Township Stadium here, the beauty of it is if I carry my green bottle, my team scores, I shout. We are different. It gives me joy. I'm enjoying myself.
But then there is always a country in which you have to respect their laws.
Respect what law? You see, if Saudi Arabia...
So you think the law that guards sport should supersede that of the
Saudi Arabia is hosting the World Muslim Day, where they will converge and worship, it's good. You are hosting sport, you are taking it away from us. You know this is who Joseph Atewe is. You brought him to your house. You are later complaining. That is wrong. You knew the game. You know the game, brother. You know these are the rules. You know this is what fans do. So you're telling me the 3 Lions now will qualify for the World Cup. The English fans, they will arrest a lot of them then. Or the German fans.
Yeah.
Because these things won't play out.
Those can even be unruly, normal.
You cannot do it.
Okay.
It is totally unfair to sport lovers like us.
Okay, so what you're indirectly trying to say is that there is an under politics with this whole Saudi Arabia hosting the 2034 World Cup. Also, Saudi Arabia actually spoke up. They spoke to the FA board saying that they are committed to welcoming all individuals with the environment to be safe and welcoming to everyone. So isn't it right for us to just kind of give them an opportunity to see if actually what they are proposing, they're going to do it? Because I understand the aspect you're coming from, but somehow it's they usually say that they give someone the opportunity,
the benefit of doubt.
Exactly.
There's nothing. It's a lie. They will do the same thing.
You are so categorical.
No, it's a lie. In 2022, Qatar hosted the World Cup. We knew 10 years ago that they were going to do that. In fact, a year before, they had issues too with the human rights record.
Yes.
They said it is open to all. Was it open to all? It's in a proper Islamic country. They won't allow those things to happen. What they're doing right now is to paint themselves to the world. Show the world they have the money to transform football, then bring in their own rules, which I'm disappointed personally in the FIFA president, because such a thing should not be happening. So you are using money to change the game. It's like what is happening in the transfer market right now. You'll be wondering why Jack Grealish is going to Manchester City for 100 million pounds. Normally, it's not supposed to go for more than 15 million pounds. You saw what happened. Who scattered the transfer market? It started in 2008. When these same Saudi guys, the oil region countries, came to buy Manchester City, brought in a Robinho and Joe, all those guys for amounts that if you put together, we buy a football club, and it is wrong. Now they've spoiled it till today. We are still battling. That is why one player who is playing for Luton Town will be going for 70 million pounds. They have spoiled that, and there is nothing that we can do about it. And they are on the verge of doing the same thing to the World Cup. So one of the implications would be that with what they did in Qatar, they used containers to build stadium. Perfect. New idea. I know.
Innovation.
What they will do in Saudi is, so you're not telling me now that with this line, FIFA will key into it. So the chances of African countries hosting the World Cup, because for you to host the World Cup, you have to beat that record. How many of them have the money? So
can you blame somebody who is trying to?
It is not right.
Somebody who is trying to. You see the kind of stadium they are trying to give us. Somebody who is trying to be the best.
It is not right.
And you are blaming others that they might not be able to meet up.
They can't beat up. I'm telling you, they can't meet up. You're telling me that South Africa.
All right, quickly.
You're telling me that Nigeria will spend 10 billion pounds on
maybe we don't have a business hosting that kind of a thing. So for now,
except you don't have like 6 countries in Africa come together.
Yeah, there are multiple hosting.
For what?
USA, Canada will be hosting
just
the next
one. You're not seeing it, they are taking away the beauty. We won in 2008 when Manchester City came. We won when Paris Saint-Germain came. We won when the Lord, like what is happening to Newcastle. Thank God for the English FA not giving them that chance. If not, they would have bought some of the biggest players in England. They are taking away the beauty.
But money is part of the game.
They are killing it.
What's your concern? You feel the money is taking away the fun of the game?
My concern will now be like, in the next 20, 30 years, football that we used to enjoy, when you go to the stadium, it looks as if you're watching a cricket game, where you're just still. There will be laws coming out later. A woman, they did that in Cameroon. At a point, you have to move a lady from my side, to put this side that is against the law. There should be this for what, in 2022?
All right. Uzoms.
So, actually, what I want to find out also is, from what you've said, all you've said so far, the human rights, not going to actually give people rights in Saudi Arabia. Actually, the FA board, can't they do something about that if by the time we get to Saudi Arabia and maybe some of these things are not actually working out as they had actually promised us?
FIFA,
can't the FA board do something about it?
So to come into this place, and one of your rules is that I can't bring in a call. Uzoms are bribed you, are giving you like 4 million. Even if I bring it to the public eye, you will grant the press interview, it was one blah, 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 but those things will die down.
All right.
You think it's only Nigeria? These guys are corrupt. I just gave you an example that the last 3 presidents are still under investigation. The beauty or the good thing for them, or the good part for them, is that they do not, or they were not holding political offices.
All right. And let me just take this as your... So, one, long story short, with this Saudi hosting, you are not excited at all?
At all.
Now, 2030 will be a different ball game. Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. Are you excited about that?
I'm excited that it's coming to Africa, but after what the Moroccan FA president, although he apologized, said in Qatar, it changed the mindset of so many African countries. You got to the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup, the biggest football competition in the world, and the whole of Africa were tweeting, posting, congratulations Africa, and you said congratulations to the Arab world. In Spain, it might sound funny. In Spain, it's exciting to know that you have 30% of them who are Muslims too. There are a lot of them there. Now look at the countries hosting those things. These guys, they have a long-term plan. So they cut off in 2008. I'm talking about Morocco. They were very useless when it comes to African football. But look at them today. Yes, they plan ahead. They plan ahead in a good way, to bring the change to the game itself. But then they insert their rules.
When you say useless, that's a strong word.
Useless in the sense that for a country like Morocco, you're crashing out the group stages of every of the competition. I mean, I think I should take that back. They weren't good enough in those competitions.
But they made it to the semi-final.
Yes, because they had a 10-year plan. But the 10-year plan...
And that's a good one.
I know, but they're bringing their rules. Sometimes I speak to Poja, he's my friend. I speak to him so many times, and he goes to these countries, and he tells me, try and be. He does the same. You might try and be.
Don't do
you can't go there and drink. You can't go there and do a lot of things to take away that from.
So you still have that concern about Morocco hosting?
Yeah, I have that concern.
Spain and Portugal hosting, you have no issues?
I have no issues. But that's Morocco coming in. It's good for Africa, only if they will truly admit that is being hosted by African Femi. See, let me tell you,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've gone to stadiums. You see the way guys celebrate. You see
Yeah,
the way
sure.
people move around halftime. They're having fun. They're buying drinks. They're enjoying themselves. That's the beauty. That is why many are spending millions of
Communication,
naira to
having
go to those countries.
relationships, yeah.
But to get to a stage. So I'm going for a competition in Saudi Arabia. I know when I get there, I will sit like 2 meters away from a lady. I can't carry any cup. If I'm going home and there's a time
You
bus
hold
will
your
stop,
jota and your
it's
camera.
nonsense.
All right, as we round off, you know, there is an angle to that. We look exciting. I want you to know if actually you are in line with that as well. The centenary celebration of the World Cup will be happening. So some of these matches will happen in Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina. You know, it started all in Uruguay, 1930. And so FIFA has added that particular peg to it as well. You think it's a top-up approach?
That's the best thing that came out from the meeting yesterday. Long overdue. Those 3 countries, I mean, check it since it started, have dominated football.
Yeah.
They produce some of the biggest stars, the Radama Falcao's and of course, the Lion himself and so many names. So it is good for them. And these guys, they share border and a friendly nation. So you would enjoy the World Cup there. God keep us alive. You might even want to start saving for them because you have the best World Cup there.
How about the one happening in the next, how many years now? 2 years?
That's the US, Canada, Mexico. Perfect.
And we hope Nigeria will qualify.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, okay. And I'm rooting for you. You know why? I'm rooting for all of us. Joseph Atewe is our own sport journalist. Thank you very much for your time. Uzoms, we should go.
Yeah, we should go. I actually enjoyed the sports segment a lot. So, but we are going to be going actually right now, and it's been actually a good show today, from the power grid to the sports. I mean, it was a good collaboration. Yeah. So we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same station. Be with us tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, Femi Ojo is my name. We make a return for the TGIF edition, the Friday edition tomorrow. Big shout out to the production team. God bless Nigeria. And in whatever you do, please stay alive. And Joseph Atewe will continue with the rest of the program. Of course, you know, he's always loaded on Sports Spring.